The General Hospital recap for Monday, June 16, reveals that Jason Morgan warned poisoned Drew Kane, while Marco Rios gave Britt Westbourne research to Brooklyn Quartermain. Here's how the action unfolded on Monday's dramatic GH episode. Carly Spencer praised Jack Brennan for assisting Michael Corinthos in getting into the German clinic, and presented him with a monogrammed wrench as a gift. Meanwhile, Anna Devane locked Dante Falconeri and Harrison Chase in a detention cell until they could resolve their difficulties. After much fighting, Chase and Dante resolved to keep their professional relationship apart from their personal issues. In the PCPD interrogation room, Anna met with Brennan, who wanted to discuss the second attempt on Sonny Corinthos' life in Los Angeles. Brennan knew Sonny was in trouble with someone with deep connections because the assassin had ties to the WSB. Brennan was apprehensive about a third attempt and didn't want anyone else caught in the crossfire, so Anna figured he was worried about Carly. Anna also mentioned the investigation she requested on Professor Henry Hank Dalton, and Brennan assured her that he was clean. After Brennan left, Anna grumbled about him being a liar. Emma Scorpio Drake flirted with Professor Dalton again at the pool, and he reassured her that it was not an imposition to visit his office and speak commerce. Giovanni Gio Palmieri was not pleased that Emma had thrown herself at Dalton, but he quietly volunteered to assist her in her plan to end all animal research. In Professor Dalton's office, Jocelyn Jacks discovered nothing on Dalton's business phone and told Vaughn that she could access his personal phone to get whatever was stored there. When Dalton returned later, he placed his own phone on the desk. Jocelyn was able to cover it up so Dalton forgot about it when he left. That allowed Jocelyn to download all of the information on the gadget. When Dalton returned, Jocelyn narrowly avoided raising any red flags. Back with Anna, she made a phone call and appears to have arranged for a boot to be fitted on Brennan's automobile. When Brennan arrived at the police station, she gladly offered to assist him with the investigation. Emma returned to Brennan's office, where she discovered phony janitor Vaughn with Jocelyn. Vaughn drew Jocelyn into a passionate kiss to describe their intimate time together. Lulu Spencer pushed one too many buttons at Maxie Jones' house, so Brooklyn Quartermain slapped her in the face and promised revenge. Maxie admitted after Brooklyn left that Brooklyn should not have been violent with Lulu, but she still believed Lulu needed to accept responsibility for what she had done to Gio. Tracy Quartermain met with Martin Gray at the Quartermain estate and offered Drew take on the Quartermain name if he refused to testify against her in the drugging case. Martin wasn't satisfied, so he suggested Tracy read the statement he'd prepared and have a news conference to welcome Drew back into the family. Tracy protested at the notion, but Martin reminded her that she could face imprisonment. Brooklyn also joined Marco at the Q Mansion, where he provided the data she requested, but he was perplexed as to why Brooklyn was investigating a deceased woman. Brooklyn revealed that Britt had played a significant role in Lulu's life, and intended to utilize legal documents to prove Lulu was not half the mother she claimed to be. As Brooklyn examined the file, a photograph of Britt was shown. At the hospital, Jason said Drew was poison, and there would be no compromise until Willow Tate witnessed this. Drew warned Michael that he wouldn't keep the kids and confirmed that Jason could relay that word to him. Jason responded that Drew may have ruined Willow, but he would not harm the children. Jason quickly updated Carly on his altercation with Drew at the pool. That allowed Gio to overhear Carly saying she'd do everything it takes to stop Drew. Lulu also astonished Gio when she arrived and offered to apologize. Back with Drew, he confronted Martin, insisting that abandoning Willow would have been a mistake. Drew, on the other hand, was prepared to use Martin's entire arsenal to assist Willow in fighting back. Martin hinted at a dangerous radical tactic that he would never implement again. According to Martin, the potential for disaster was limitless, presumably because Drew was marrying Willow. Jason stood stiffly by the Corinthos fireplace, the flare of the flames casting harsh shadows on his face. He'd gone through actual and emotional conflicts, but confronting Drew like this, after everything, felt more like betrayal than any shootout in the alley. Drew stood across from him, eyes stern but serene, as if he hadn't just lighted a spark in the lives of everyone Jason was concerned about. The silence lingered, but it was not serene. It was volatile, and they both knew the eruption was coming. Jason drew a deep breath, his jaw tense. "You crossed a line." Drew's mouth twitched, not quite smirking, not quite regretful. "Do you think I don't know that? You destroyed Willow, Jason replied, his voice quiet but full of wrath. You lied to her. They manipulated her. You broke her from the inside out, and for what? So you may become closer to Michael's children? What the hell happened to you, Drew? Drew's eyes sparked as something old and frightening sprang to the surface. Don't pretend you haven't done worse in the name of protecting others, Jason. You have stepped over bodies. You choose Sonny's children over your own. You don't get to lecture me. Jason did not flinch, but the words struck like they were supposed to. This isn't about me, he replied, moving closer. This is about you utilizing your claimed friendship with Willow to crawl your way into Michael's life. You understood what she was going through. You knew how fragile she was. Drew's voice became eerily quiet. I did not compel her to trust me. That was her decision. Jason shakes his head. No, she believed the version of you that you had slain a long time ago. You can't pretend like you're the victim here. You took advantage of her pain. You used your own niece as a pawn. Drew's face slumped for a brief moment, but it quickly returned to normal. I wanted to protect her from the lie Michael was living. Jason blinked, surprised. So exposing everything, tearing her life apart, was that protection? Do you call that loyalty? She deserves the truth. Drew snapped. Michael has been acting, concealing secrets, and making decisions for her, as if she is incapable of handling reality. I gave her power. I gave her a way out. Jason's voice dropped again. You gave her a nightmare. You destroyed her trust in the guy she loves, the father of her children. She is now questioning everything, including her marriage, her duty as a mother, and her ability to trust her own instincts. Do you think that is power? Drew's expression hardened. Better to be broken and rebuilt than to live a lie. You don't get to make that choice for her, Jason shot back. You aren't her savior, Drew. You are the reason she is in pieces. There was a long gap, with only the crackle of firewood between them. Drew looked down and rubbed the back of his neck. For a brief period he felt a sense of guilt. But it did not last. So what happens now? He inquired coldly. Are you gonna warn me off? Give me the tough guy routine. Do you think Michael will be your shield? Jason approached, his voice like steel. I'll tell you this once. Keep away from Michael's children. You have already caused enough damage. You don't get to crawl your way into their lives because of some warped concept of fairness. Drew's nostrils flared. They're my family too. Not anymore, Jason snapped. You lost that right the second you turned on us. The words were knives and they hit their target. Drew looked aside, a muscle twitching in his jaw. Do you think you are protecting them? He said finally. Do you think Michael is a saint? He's been playing his own games. He's been in Sonny's world longer than I have. You're simply too blinded by allegiance to recognize it. Jason's gaze did not waver. Michael has made mistakes, but he doesn't intend to harm his family in the process. He isn't feeding lies to damaged women and calling it heroism. Drew scoffed. So you're going to jump in? Be the moral compass now. You think you can lecture someone after everything you've done? Jason let the insult go. This is not about me being better than you. It is about me seeing who you have become. And I will not let you finish what you've started. You went after Willow, which is already unacceptable. But if you approach Wiley or Amelia, I'll stop you. And I will not ask twice. Jason's tone conveyed no menace. Just a promise. Drew stared at him for a long time. An unspoken constriction between them. Brotherhood had deteriorated into bitterness. Loyalty had broken into shards of resentment. Do you honestly believe you're the only one who cares about those kids? Drew said. You think I'm just a monster with no feelings? I think you're a man who let his pain turn into poison, Jason said him. And now everything you touch gets infected. The room became still. Drew appeared to shrink in on himself, but his dignity kept him standing. You don't know what I've been through. Do you think I haven't? Jason asked. Do you believe you are the only one who has lost? Do you believe you're the only one who has been lied to, misled, or abandoned? Drew turned away and began pacing, his hands clenched at his sides. She was meant to visit me, really see me. Not a shadow of you, not an echo of Franco, just me. And she did for a while, until Michael turned her against me. Jason took a big breath. She noticed the genuine you, and she walked away. Once again there is silence. This time it was heavier. You know, Drew finally admitted, I used to think we were the same, that we simply took different paths in order to safeguard those we love. But we aren't the same. You get to be the hero. I am always the mistake. You made that choice, Jason remarked calmly. No, Drew responded. You made it. The second you returned, everything I developed had suddenly lost its meaning. Michael stopped listening. Willow became cold. Harley, she separated herself. And you got your life back. I have a ghost. Jason looked aside. For a brief while, the wrath on his expression shifted to something resembling pity. You could have taken part in this. Drew, you were family. But you couldn't let go of your past. I didn't have the luxury to forget it, Drew stated. Not when everything I loved got handed back to you. Jason stepped back, the fight draining from his stance. I did not take anything from you. People made their own decisions. You can't continue to blame me for where you ended yourself. Drew's voice cracked then, not with sadness, but with anger disguised as pain. I lost everything because of you. No, Jason responded with finality. You lost everything because you used everything as a weapon, including Willow. That was the wound that cut the deepest. Drew did not respond. He could not. Do you want to be angry? Fine, Jason said. Don't imagine for a second that I'll let you near Michael's children. I don't care what you believe you are entitled to. Drew finally looked into his eyes again. There was hostility but also sadness. They deserve to know everything. The entire truth. Jason nodded slowly. Perhaps they do. But not from you. Drew gazed at him, chest heaving and jaw tight. Then he turned on his heel and walked out of the home without saying anything. Jason remained still. The fire behind him raged louder than before, as if responding to the heat in the air. Later that night, Jason paid Willow a visit. She was snuggled up on the couch, a blanket pulled over her, her eyes swollen from tears. But when he walked in, she looked up, and the sorrow on her face told him everything he needed to know. Drew had done serious harm. I'm sorry, Jason murmured softly. She nodded. I thought he was my friend. He wanted to be, Jason acknowledged. But somewhere along the way, he let his grief become something else. Willow blinked slowly. He claimed Michael lied to me, over and over, that I was too vulnerable to face the truth, that Michael did not trust me. Jason sat down next her. You are not frail, and Michael trusts you. He simply lacked the ability to protect you while also telling you the truth. He was afraid. I don't know what to believe anymore, she said. You believe in your heart, Jason explained. And the people who've stood by you, not the ones who weaponize your pain. Tears streamed down her cheeks, and Jason did not stop them. He simply let her cry. Across town, Michael was cuddling Amelia in his arms, with their kid already in bed. He had heard about Jason's argument with Drew. Word spread quickly. But for the first time in weeks, he felt as if someone had his back. Someone who realized that preserving his family required making tough decisions. Jason had always understood what needed to be done. Michael needed that level of confidence more than ever. Drew, on the other hand, stood alone in a hotel room, pouring whiskey into a glass with trembling hands. He looked in the window and saw his own reflection, a man who was almost unrecognizable. He tried to rewrite his story, to seize control of a narrative that had always been slipping away from him. But the reality was undeniable. He wasn't the hero. According to General Hospital spoilers for Tuesday, June 17th, Brooklyn Quartermain's Britt Westbourne plot will continue forward, while Jocelyn Jax and Vaughn attempt to silence Emma Scorpio Drake. For starters, Drew Kane will point out that Portia Robinson and Nina Reeves appear to have forgotten who is in charge. As a result, Drew will issue more threats and make it known that he is the boss. Curtis Ashford will admit to Michael Corinthos that Drew is blackmailing his wife. Curtis will make an offer to Michael, giving him the opportunity to reveal his Jacinda plot and urge for an alliance. Brooklyn will continue her talk with Marco Rios. Brooklyn hopes to establish that Lulu isn't half the mother she claims to be, and she believes her history with Britt is vital. This relates to the Rocco Falconeri stolen embryo story, and appears to be a good road to retribution for Brooklyn. Isn't it time for Lulu to get what she deserves? Brooklyn questions Marco in Tuesday's GH teaser video. Next, Lulu will receive a pleasant surprise, and perhaps Giovanni Gio Palmieri will accept her apologies and acknowledge he does not hold what occurred against her. Gio may respect Lulu's desire to reveal the truth, even if it had to be done in such a horrific way. Despite Lulu's efforts, Gio refuses to form a bond with Dante Falconeri. After Gio informs Lulu that nothing she says would change his opinion, she may have to back off and let Gio work it out for himself. When Emma entered Professor Henry Hank Dalton's office, Vaughn was forced to think quickly. Now that Vaughn has enticed Jocelyn into a steamy kiss, they'll sell their phony romance to Emma and persuade her not to expose them. Although Emma may believe she now has some clout over Jocelyn, she will undoubtedly be unaware of the full scenario because Joss and Vaughn work for WSB. In Tuesday's episode, Jocelyn will present a new plan to Vaughn, which could involve another opportunity for them to take advantage of their pretend romantic relationship. Sasha Gilmore Corbin will be upset in the hospital when she asks a critical inquiry. "What did you do with her?" Sasha exclaims to Carly Spencer and someone else in the room during Tuesday's peak clip. Since Sasha will be cradling Daisy Gilmore Corinthos in her arms, her concern may be for Willow Tate. Sasha may receive updates on Willow's mental health problems and press for additional information. Meanwhile, Sonny Corinthos will check in with Dante to see how he's doing after all the Gio drama. Dante will be more concerned about Sonny, so he may wonder whether there is any information on the unknown opponent who has been targeting his father. According to General Hospital teasers, Sonny will swear that he has everything under control, but Dante will remain concerned about him. The tension in Port Charles had reached a boiling point when Brooklyn Quartermain became engaged in a hazardous game of secrets and deception. The recent revelation of Britt Westbourne's involvement in a high-stakes medical conspiracy shook the community, and Brooklyn was now at the center of the storm. Brooklyn, determined to protect Britt, who had previously saved her life, had gone to extreme lengths to conceal the truth. But with each motion she took, the walls appeared to close in on her. Meanwhile, Jocelyn Jacks and Dr. Vaughn were engaged in their own war for confidentiality. Emma Drake, an important witness to Vaughn's fraudulent medical practices, had become a liability. If she spoke out, Vaughn's career would be finished, and Jocelyn's own role in concealing the truth would be revealed. The two of them had no choice but to keep Emma quiet, by any means necessary. As Brooklyn negotiated the perilous waters of her alliance with Britt, she began to question how far she was willing to go. The Quartermain name had weight, but it might not be enough to protect her from the consequences. Every discussion was a calculated risk, and every gaze from a stranger represented a potential threat. She had confided in only a few people, but in a town like Port Charles, secrets had a habit of leaking at the worst possible time. Across town, Jocelyn and Vaughn were putting their plans into action. Emma had always been empathetic, but she was also firmly principled. They recognized that appealing to her emotions wasn't enough. They needed leverage. Vaughn, with his medical knowledge, had access to information that could be used against her. Jocelyn, on the other hand, recognized the importance of human bonds. She had previously considered Emma a friend, but now she was willing to use that history to defend herself. The stakes were bigger than any of them had expected. Brooklyn believes that uncovering Britt's secrets could be the difference between life and death, not only for Britt, but also for herself. The conspirators were vicious, and they would not hesitate to eliminate anyone standing in their way. She had already noticed weird happenings, such as unexplained phone calls and an unidentified car parked outside her apartment on multiple occasions. Paranoia had set in, and she wasn't sure if she was imagining the danger, or if it was actually closing in on her. Meanwhile, Jocelyn was wrestling with the moral implications of her actions. She had always considered herself a good person, someone who spoke up for what was right. But now she was actively attempting to quiet an innocent woman in order to save her own skin. The guilt gnawed at her, but every time she pondered backing out, Vaughn would warn her of the implications. Emma's words would jeopardize Jocelyn's future, her medical school goals, her reputation, and her connections. The fear of losing everything kept her going, even when her conscience begged her to stop. Vaughn, ever the manipulator, delivered an excellent performance. He knew just how to use the circumstance to his advantage, instilling enough doubt in Jocelyn to keep her submissive. He'd dealt with whistleblowers before, and Emma was no exception. In his mind, this was just another problem to be solved. If threats didn't work, he had other options: blackmail, coercion, or worse. He was not going to allow one idealistic doctor destroy his career. Emma, unaware of the scope of the scheme against her, became increasingly suspicious. She had noticed Vaughn and Jocelyn's unusual conduct, the way talks paused when she entered the room, and the increased haste with which they attempted to undermine her worries. She had tried to reach out to others, Drew, Elizabeth, and even Finn, but something always seemed to get in the way. Files disappeared, appointments were cancelled, and her credibility was subtly eroded. She was aware she was being isolated, but she refused to back down. As the days went, pressure increased from all sides. Brooke Lynn, desperate for a way out, pondered coming clean, but the prospect of the ramifications froze her. What if telling the truth got Britt killed? What if it placed her own family at risk? The Quartermaines were powerful, but they couldn't keep her safe from everything. Meanwhile, Jocelyn was beginning to fracture from the strain. The falsehoods were building up, and she could feel herself turning into someone she didn't recognize. She began avoiding her friends, skipping courses, and losing sleep. The once confident young woman had become a shadow of herself, plagued by the decisions she had made. However, Vaughn remained composed. He had contingency plans for every possibility, and if Jocelyn faltered, he was ready to let her go. She was valuable to him but not indispensable. His primary concern was self-preservation, and he would kill anyone who got in his way. The eventual confrontation was unavoidable. Emma, recognizing she had run out of options, resolved to take dramatic measures. She reached out to someone outside the hospital, whom Vaughn could not control. Meanwhile, Brooke Lynn, pushed to her breaking point, made a hazardous move of her own. She contacted an old ally of Britt's for assistance. General Hospital spoilers reveal that the ABC drama recently released a trailer for the week of June 16th to 20th, and there are some intriguing moments in the preview to discuss. One major one is a catfight between Brooke Lynn Quartermaine Chase and Lulu Spencer. Fans will recall that during the Friday, June 13th episode, Maxie Jones summoned her two best friends, Brooke Lynn and Lulu, in the hopes that putting them in the same location would help them resolve their issues and move ahead. After all, as Dante Falconeri's two baby moms, getting on the same page for their boys' sakes could finally help repair the gap between the ladies who have been at odds with each other for what seems like eternity. However, it appears that Maxie's well-intended strategy will backfire. After all, at the end of GH's June 13th episode, Lulu refused to apologize for exposing Giovanni Gio Palmieri's true parentage. As fans approach a new week in Port Charles, GH's trailer suggests that things will only get worse between Lulu and Brooke Lynn. In the middle of the trailer, a clip shows Lulu saying, "You chose to lie, no wonder he doesn't want to be with you." Of course, Brooke Lynn responds to this statement with a fist to Lulu's face. Brooke Lynn has the old Bensonhurst attitude, but given what Lulu stated in her own situation, it was really brave of Lulu to say anything about Joe's love for his biological mother. Brooke Lynn's strike appears to have the potential to make an indelible impression on numerous levels. But might it also spark a massive cat fight? Regardless, Lulu's face will need to heal, but will she find a way to lash out, making things worse, or will this shake her up enough to recognize she is in the wrong to some extent? Lulu has been sitting on her high horse about Brooke Lynn's deception for quite some time, despite the fact that many others understand why the woman chose to keep her adoption a secret for so long. Could Lulu finally recognize she had crossed a terrible line? After all, GH spoilers suggest Lulu will apologize. But will that sorry be directed at Brooke Lynn, or perhaps someone else? Brooke Lynn's punch may go either way. It could force Lulu to lash out even more at her longtime rival, or it could be the wake-up call Lulu needs to realize she hasn't lived a saintly life, and she too has made mistakes along the way. General Hospital spoilers indicate that things might go ugly, or that Lulu and Brooke Lynn's catfight is the rock bottom. Both ladies need to eventually make apologies. The tension in Port Charles reached an all-time high when Sidwell issued a frightening warning that could permanently alter the lives of Sonny Corinthos and those around him. Sidwell, known for his harsh tactics and unwavering ambition, had always been a formidable opponent, but his most recent action crossed a hazardous line. His ultimatum was clear. Either Sonny relinquished control of his empire, or Sidwell would use whatever methods necessary to bring him down. The threat reverberated throughout the criminal underground, leaving both Sunny's supporters and foes scurrying to assess the situation. For Sunny, this was more than simply business. It was personal. His family, heritage, and very survival were at risk. Meanwhile, despite the tumult, Drew Kane made a life-altering decision. He proposed to Willow Tate. The event was both unexpected and poignant, a ray of hope in the midst of the tempest that engulfed their friends and family. Drew had always been a guy of principle, fighting for justice and supporting those he cared about. His friendship with Willow had grown over time, based on mutual respect, trust, and a strong emotional bond. When he got down on one knee, the raw emotion in his eyes was obvious. Willow saw the proposal as a moment of pure delight, an opportunity to embrace happiness after so much grief. However, their engagement was not without challenges. Willow's past troubles, including her illness and complex family dynamics, lurked in the backdrop. Drew, despite his unwavering love for Elizabeth, was burdened by his own past errors as well as the constant threat posed by his links to Sunny and the rest of Port Charles's power players. Their love was strong, but the world around them was far from stable. As word of Drew's proposal circulated, opinions were divided. Some, such as Michael Corinthos, were ecstatic for the couple, seeing it as a new beginning for Willow after everything she had been through. Others questioned the timing. With Sidwell's threat hovering over Sunny's head, alignments were shifting, and Drew's tight relationship with Sunny may endanger both him and Willow. The engagement was supposed to be a private, intimate event, but in Port Charles nothing stays quiet for long. Sunny, for his part, had little time to reflect on Drew and Willow's good news. Sidwell's threat was not to be taken lightly, and he was aware that his decision would determine not only his own fate, but also that of everyone around him. If things progressed, his family, business associates, and even innocent bystanders may find themselves caught in the crossfire. Carly, the strategist, advised him to consider carefully before making any actions, while Jason, the loyal enforcer, was ready to act at a moment's notice. The stakes have never been higher. As the days went, the pressure increased. Sidwell's men started making daring moves, testing Sunny's fortifications and looking for flaws. This was clearly more than a power ploy. It was a declaration of war. Sunny had encountered foes before, but Sidwell's cold, calculated demeanor made him especially dangerous. There would be no negotiation or intermediate ground. Only one of them would win. Despite the building conflict, Drew and Willow attempted to focus on their future. Planning a wedding should have been an exciting moment, but the shadow of Sidwell's threat made it difficult to truly enjoy their delight. Drew was divided between his dedication to Willow and his loyalty to Sunny. He had always believed in doing the right thing, but what was the right thing in a scenario where every option was risky? Willow, ever insightful, detected his inner conflict and told him that they would tackle whatever came their way together. The citizens of Port Charles held their breath, anticipating the eventual confrontation between Sunny and Sidwell. Some planned for the worst while others hoped for a miracle. In a town where danger and drama were commonplace, this confrontation had the potential to change the entire landscape. And at the heart of it all were two love stories. One just beginning, with Drew and Willow's engagement signifying hope and new beginnings, and the other, Sunny's fight for survival, depicting the brutal realities of a world where power comes at a cost. As the sun fell over Port Charles, the future seemed uncertain. Will love triumph, or will the darkness of Sidwell's threat engulf all in its path? Only time will tell. General Hospital teasers reveal that the daytime soap has published a preview video for the week of June 16th to 20th, so viewers can expect an intense 5 days in Port Charles. The Geech Weekly ad begins with a tense exchange between Jen Sidwell and Sunny Corinthos. The Port Charles newcomer states matter-of-factly that he wants to destroy the mob boss's dominance in the city. As the camera moves to Sunny's face, he is absolutely caught off guard.